corporate headquarters. As manager of civic action programs, he started the company's first broad-based PAC and ran it until it raised and contributed more than $200,000 per election cycle. As manager of economic research, he forecasted economic trends that affected worldwide sales of the company's industrial and consumer products.
Do you have the agenda
Dick
there?
received a master's degree in economics from Vanderbilt University and a bachelor's degree in economics and political science from the University of Iowa. Please help me welcome to the podium Mr. Dick Castner.
Thank you.
Do I need that? Because it's just going to be a pain. It really is, I can tell.
It was for me.
What an incredible event. This speaks extremely well of the Chandler Chamber of Commerce to get this many business people together with this many elected officials. That's phenomenal. And this, also really phenomenal. Well, you're wondering, well, why? What's that? If you look out the windows of the north face of the White House, you see Lafayette Park, which has a few trees in it, a few homeless people. And then if you were to look beyond that, because there are no buildings in Lafayette Park, you'd see the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which sits right across the street. And that's the south face of the U.S. Chamber, which faces the White House. So if the president gets confused about our priorities, those letters are more than 30 feet tall. Uh-oh, hit the wrong one. There we go. Congressman Salmon hit on some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, but it's been a while, so let me refresh your memory. No, it's not. We did have a deal a little more than a week ago that Congress agreed to after far more agony than we should have had to go through. The provisions of that deal are on a sheet of paper in the middle of your table, and there aren't enough for everybody because, quite honestly, there's a whole lot more of you than I was expecting. But I told Terry that I would email it to her, and she said she'd put it up on the Chamber's website, so that's yet another reason to go to the website if you need one. On the deal, first and foremost, income tax rates were extended at current levels for more than 99% of the population. If your income is below $400,000 as an individual or $450,000 for a family, not only were the rates extended, but they were made permanent. So they'll have to pass another law to change them. They were, of course, as you know, in danger of reverting to pre-2001 levels had Congress not acted. And quite honestly, you'd have been surprised. You received a heck of a lot bigger tax cut in 2001 and 2003 than you thought you did. And it's a good thing you didn't find that out the hard way. Also, the alternative minimum tax was permanently addressed. 6 million households pay that now. Had we not, fixed it, we've been patching it year after year. But literally 30 million more households would have had to pay, in addition to the regular income tax, go through another tax system and pay yet more taxes had that not been fixed. Now, people, wealthier taxpayers, and it starts well before $400,000 because they start phasing out. Well, first of all, capital gains go up for people who earn less than that. In the 200 to 250,000 range. We phase out personal exemptions and limit itemized deductions. So the folks who at the very top got clobbered in a lot more ways than just rates. And finally, well, not finally, there's more, but all of us, and we'll see it on our first paychecks, for 2 years to stimulate the economy, Congress and the President agreed to cut the employee portion of the payroll taxes for Social Security. Up until 2 years ago, we paid 6.2% of our salaries up to a cutoff point. We're at around a little over $100,000 now. For the last 2 years, that's been cut back to 4.2%. It reverts, as of January 1st, back to 6.2%. So in any event, we'll all notice that 2% of our income is going back to Social Security. Congressman Salmon was right. The Social Security program is indeed headed toward bankruptcy. If nothing changes, it will be bankrupt in 2033, according to the trustees. Not paying that 2% just means it goes bankrupt that much faster. Republicans and Democrats agreed on that. Other key provisions. The estate tax goes up. Some tax breaks that were part of the initial stimulus package and have been extended a couple of times for lower income families were extended again, this time for 5 years. Business tax extenders, Intel and some of your other high-tech companies probably appreciate the R&D tax credit. It was extended again, as usual, for just another year. And also the biggest spending item was that the extended unemployment benefits, the ability of people in the highest unemployment states to receive unemployment for 99 weeks, with the feds picking up the latter portion of that. That also was extended for another year. Now this is what didn't happen in the deal. And quite honestly, we were glad that something happened deal-wise. We did not want taxes to go up on all working Americans, but we wanted a big deal. We wanted budget sequestration fixed. We'll talk about what that is in just a minute, but it was only extended for basically for 2 months. They kicked the can down the road to March 1st. The debt ceiling was not addressed. Tax reform, nothing whatsoever. Spending was certainly not slowed in any realistic way by this deal. And entitlement programs are still in deep, deep trouble. All of those things should have been fixed, we think. It's not like they didn't have time. We've been talking about this, and so has Congress, all throughout 2012. We'll talk in a few minutes about why it is we have to do everything at the last minute. But the way things are right now, we do. That's just the way we operate. Now, I'm tethered here. I can't. Got to get closer. All right, the deficit. Last year, 1.1 trillion. Big number. The lower solid line, all right, that's where we are as a result of this deal. The dotted line up here, that's where we would have been without the deal. The deal basically raises $620 billion over 10 years. And the orange area is that. What's wrong with this picture? Let's see, deficits fall for a couple of years and then they start right back up again. I mean, I don't like either one of those lines. I don't like the dotted one, I don't like the solid one. Last year, that $1.1 trillion deficit I showed you to the far, far left side of the last chart, that was the 4th year in a row we've run over $1 trillion deficit at the federal level. Somebody asked me the other day, how many billions in a trillion? Well, it's 1,000 billion. It's far too big to contemplate. You can't get your arms around it. In any event, as a result of those last 4 trillion-dollar deficit years, our total debt stands at about $16.4 trillion now. In 4 years, we went from 12 trillion to more than 16 trillion. We ran up a quarter of our entire debt has been, the debt that we've had since this country was founded, a quarter of the entire debt was run up in 4 years. Staggering. As you can see, all kinds of bad things can happen if we continue down this course. Quite honestly, who knows how long the rest of the world is going to continue to buy our treasury bills if we continue to run such a reckless government. We don't want to find out how long. We don't want to be there. Another scary way of looking at things, it's pretty depressing, isn't it? I mean, Congressman Salmon, he just talked about it. I'm going to show it to you in pictures so you can see just how grim things are. This is from 1970 to, well, out to the present. And the gray bars denote periods of recession. And this is the percentage of gross domestic product, the total economy, made up by the overall federal debt. And it's a measure that's used by economists around the world to track an economy's ability to carry the debt they currently have. And what's the scary part? As recently as the beginning of this recession, we were down about 37%. We're about double that now in just the last 5 years. It's just staggering. What's wrong with this is the direction of that line and the fact that it's still headed north. All right, this is also kind of scary, and it gets at why we're concerned about entitlement programs. And if you don't know why they're called entitlements, it means these are the programs that the federal government doesn't, the Congress doesn't appropriate every year. Basically, they're